Okay, so we got to talk about what's going on as there's really a lot. The first big issue is, will Donald Trump decide to attack Iran? These are our headlines. And U.S. evacuates personnel from Qatar military base as Donald Trump threatens Iran. And that's what the news has been all week. Trump has given options. Which targets do you want to hit? Do you want to hit this target? Do you want to hit that target? Now, remember that Trump did attack Iran before. That was a nuclear facility. And they did move personnel around before, right? So they've done it before, and there's certainly possible they could do it again. Then you have this concern is growing that the American action against Iran could destabilize the region. But I would argue Trump is destabilizing the world, not just the region. This is a map of the region here, and you can see there's air bases, naval bases, joint forces, a lot of assets there. They're moving personnel around. It's the Al Udeid base right there. And then this is the response from Iran, among other things. I'll just show you. From Al Jazeera, it says, Iran protests live. Military on high alert as U.S. ramps up attack threats. And this is what they say. Iran's foreign minister says Israel has always tried to drag the United States into fighting wars on its behalf, adding the U.S. President Donald Trump should know where to turn to stop the bloodshed in his country. Okay? And this is a question I pose to you. Again, this is coming from Iran, but it's a question I pose to you is, do you want to go to wars defending Israel and attacking Iran? Is that your goal in life? My particular point of view on this stuff, I just wish the USA would have much less to do with this region. I wish we would get off of oil and have alternative energies. I've been saying this for years, right? You just get dragged in this stuff, be it Iraq, Afghanistan, and now possibly attacking Iran. The U.S., when you check what they're saying, which I'll show you, says U.S. withdraws some forces from Middle East as Trump weighs Iran strikes. Like, that's been our news all week. And the question isn't like, can we strike? The question is what happens afterwards, right? Like, you can start dropping bombs, but what happens afterwards? A person familiar with the situation said that handling an expected military response from Iran if Trump does order strikes has become a major consideration, right? So if you start bombing Iran, are they going to hit back, and where? Quote, the issue is not the ability to strike targets, but managing and neutralizing the counterstrike, this person said. Israel, a likely Iranian target, shares that concern. Of course they do. Everyone shares this concern. The U.S., though, as they just kidnapped the president of Venezuela, they're looking at, this is from the Trump perspective, like, okay, how can we get some sort of puppet in Venezuela? How can we get some sort of puppet in Iran? And how can we control all the oil assets? I mean, let's be real about this. It's about oil. You could argue it's about Israel as well, but certainly oil plays a role. This is also a headline, and this is where it gets really murky, as you got a lot of backdoor deals happening. With tensions high, Israel and Iran secretly reassured each other via Russia. So I guess Israel and Iran was telling Russia that, okay, we're not going to preemptively attack each other. But what about the U.S. option? What if we just have, if you're from Israel's point of view, what if we have USA attack Iran? Then we can say we're not attacking Iran. Great. And then it's hard to get information of what's going on. So Trump's going to make the case as he tweets out at 3 a.m. in the morning, sitting on his gold toilet. I support protesters. I'm going to start bombing everyone, which is obviously ironic coming from him. If you look at what's happening in USA, where he's sending his ice goons on Americans, right? You see it. It's like every day on the news, and yet some reason we have the money and the resources, and I guess we're focusing on attacking Iran. Then coming from Iran, and I don't want to make it seem like I side with any of these, leadership here. I just side with just regular people on the ground. I think regular people want, not be attacked by anyone. But this is where we're at. It's hard to get good information from Iran right now. How Iran switched off the internet. And then it says Tehran went from halal internet to near total blackout, but activists have smuggled in Starlink devices to get information out. And this is an interesting chart by the Financial Times. They were showing how internet connectivity has been down. So that's about a week then. Iran has experienced its longest internet blackout, right? So internet connectivity was basically down to nil since around the January 8th or 9th. And then they've done this before. So it says Iran has restricted internet during previous periods of unrest or conflict. That was 2019 protests, and also in 2025 Iran-Israel war. Now, just to be clear, right, even if I don't support Iran, right, what's going on over there, it doesn't mean that the USA needs to get involved and start dropping bombs, right? I mean, that's always the question. And if you turn over to Fox News, they try to convince you, oh, yes, we definitely have to go drop bombs, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that things are going great over there, because it certainly sounds pretty ugly. I'll just be frank with you guys, like the stuff that's coming out, it sounds bad. And you don't know like how bad and how widespread, but I'll just tell you a little bit. So amid Iran's blackout videos show lethal violence across the country, you're talking about multiple cities. Security forces fired directly into crowds of protesters in at least 6 different cities across Iran, illustrating how widely violence has spread, according to the Washington Post review of the videos. But it's really hard to say because the internet is down and you're getting intermittent communication. You'll get some videos in and out. You'll see this stuff, and if you guys have seen this stuff already, basically have these guys running around with guns. You hear a lot of screaming and you hear a lot of gunfire. I'll just say this, guys, it's really, really ugly. So, from just a human perspective, I don't want, anyone or any loss of life. It doesn't necessarily mean though the U.S. needs to go in and start bombing. I mean, then you just escalate things. So it's really hard to know what's happening. And if there is any sort of action, say by the USA, I'd prefer international response with allies and such, and also international verification of what's happening on the ground. Internet's down, so what do you do? And then if you go over to Elon Musk's platform, he'll spread whatever he wants to spread. So it's really hard to say. And I hope you guys understand my point of view on this stuff. You got to be careful whenever you talk about these things, because you don't know. But it is sad to see like some of the videos that are coming out. So I want to be clear on that. This is also, and then it becomes like, okay, so Trump's threatening to attack, and then he just says, oh, it just got to me that there's no violence now. Literally, just for a few minutes ago. Trump says new information in Iran, quote, just got to him. Continuing his comments in the White House, Trump said the report that, quote, the killing has stopped in Iran has just gotten to him. The executions have stopped. They're not going to have an execution, which a lot of people were talking about over the last couple of days. I really don't know. And this was our headlines here then about the execution. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, Iran signals plans to swift trials and executions of protesters. So again, a lot of stuff doesn't sound good, but doesn't necessarily mean we need to start dropping bombs. Okay, so while that's going on with Iran, we're also in USA. I guess we're searching reporters' houses now. FBI searches Washington Post journalist's home in national security probe. Okay. And this is from Pam Bondi. She says, this past week, at the request of the Department of War, Department of Defense, but that's what she says, the Department of Justice and the FBI executed a search warrant at the home of a Washington Post journalist who obtained reporting classified and illegally leaked information from a Pentagon contractor. The leaker is currently behind bars. I am proud to work along with Secretary Higgs in this effort. Trump administration will not tolerate illegal leaks of classified information that, when reported, pose a grave risk to our nation's national security and the brave men and women who are serving the country. So that's what's going on. It's hard to say with any of this stuff, and it makes going through the news really hard every day because the Trump people are untrustworthy, and they prove that time and time again. Is there a leak here? Possibly. Is it classified security? Sure, it certainly could be. And I just tell you what it is. I honestly don't know this stuff. This is Trump also. I guess we're blocking visa processing from 75 countries, which is really a lot. And you can see right here that there's the map of which countries. This is a list of which countries. And I'll just say this. I mean, we're just further and further isolating the USA. There could be any number of situations where people have family members. People could have, married someone from another country, and the visa process could be students, could be workers. It could be affecting any number of people, right? And I guess we're stopping visa processing. So you're throwing a lot of people's lives just in total disarray. And while that's happening, then we're threatening Greenland. They just had a meeting with Greenland today. It says Trump administration live updates. Denmark has, quote, fundamental differences with U.S. Over Greenland. Of course they do. Vance hosted Greenland meeting ends with fundamental disagreement. And that's what we're talking about, and it's just so frustrating to go over the news every day. I know it's not fun to go to this stuff like, are we going to bomb Iran? What's Iran doing? They cut off the internet. Uh, are we going to attack Greenland? That's our question. Are we now arresting journalists, searching their homes? Like, what's going on with that? And there's so much like stuff on a daily basis. Usually in a typical news cycle, it would just be like one thing, but it's like too much to go over. And I just try my best to just give you an honest opinion on this stuff. And then you have the gaslighting over at Fox News, and they just start beating the drums. But from the regular person's point of view, I think regular people in the USA are just like, I'd like to have a job. I'd like to be able to put food on the table. And they prefer if people with guns don't show up at my house and start banging on my door. I think that's just like an average person's point of view on this stuff. And then when we start spending money and get involved with all these other things, I mean, it just destabilizes the world, and then start cutting off relationships with other countries and destabilizing families. And that's what Trump is up to. So do stay safe out there, everyone. And I'll catch you on the next video.